On behalf of Prisma, the Center for Jewish Day Schools, it's my pleasure to welcome you to tonight's Eli Talk StorySlam. My name is Debra Shaffer Seeman, and I am Prisma's network weaver. It is my privilege as Prisma's network weaver to introduce you to some of the finest storytellers you'll meet. Our job tonight in this room is to create a space in which these storytellers can share from their hearts with all of us. When I was in 7th grade, I had a science teacher named Mr. Popowski. Now, Mr. Popowski was that cool kind of science teacher, you know, the kind that never tucked in his shirt. And Mr. Popowski one day walked into class and put 2 guitars right in front of the entire class. Stood the 2 guitars up, and he plucked a string on one guitar as they faced each other. Lo and behold, the exact same string on the other guitar started to vibrate. Harmonic vibrations. Our job tonight is to be the harmonic vibrations for these speakers. Kimayim hapanim lapanim, ken lev ha'adam la'adam. Just as face is to face in water, so too the heart of one man to another. Our role tonight is to hold the space, to hold the vulnerability, to hold the challenge, to hold the drama, and to hold the hearts of the speakers who are coming before us. Our second-born, Hadara, is 13 years old now. When Hadara was 3 and a half, my mother's mother passed away. Now, my mother's mother was a very regal woman. She was always put together. She showed up with lipstick on no matter where she went. My grandmother was an extraordinary cook. She was a cook, she was a baker, the food that she made took you to other places. Now, when my grandmother died, I sat down and told each of our kids individually. And when I sat down and I told Hadara that my grandmother had died, she said, "Ima, you're gonna go to the funeral and talk about her, right?" I said, "Of course." And she said, "Will you tell everyone about the achi foods?" I'm having a heart attack, the achi foods, right? In my mind, my grandmother is the greatest cook of all time, the achi foods. So I channeled my best Jane Taubenfeld Cohen. And I got curious. And I said, "Hadara, what do you mean?" Right? Not what was going on inside. "What do you mean, honey?" And she said, "Well, are you going to tell them about her amazing ragalach and the amazing bebelach and the amazing kreplach, all of her achi foods? Are you going to tell them?" Ladies and gentlemen, it's my honor to introduce to you tonight our first speaker, the master of Let's Get Curious, Jane Taubenfeld Cohen. My friends, they tell me that Pesach shopping needs to be done. Really? Nobody's gonna groan? Before we get there, though, Purim is almost upon us. The story of the Megillah is one of my favorites by far. And the story of the Megillah begins with this woman, Esther, who's brought in to take care of the destiny of the Jewish people, right? A teeny little job. By chapter 3 of the book of Esther, she's not ready to assume the role that she's been given. And Mordechai says to her, "Ki macharesh tacharishi beit azot, revach v'atzala yamod laYehudi mimakom acher." Right? If you don't If you stay silent at this moment, salvation will come to the Jews from another space, from another place. He goes on and then says, Umi yodea im la'et kazot higat lamalchut. Who knows if for this very reason you have assumed this role. We all have a Mordechai in our life. We all have someone where when we're not ready to assume that role, when we're not prepared to step in, when we're not fortunate enough to have the confidence at that very moment when we need it, our Mordechai steps in to support us. Tonight, we have the privilege to learn from Rebecca Laurie. Rebecca Laurie is going to tell us a little bit about a different model of how every one of us in this room can step into that moment for the Esther in our lives. Please welcome Rebecca Laurie. There's a question that I was asked about why dreams, right? Why did Prisma choose dreams as our conference theme? Why do we have these 5 gorgeous human beings up here talking about dreams? And the real answer is because we know that when the school's on fire, you don't always get to dream. We know that when the students there and the teachers there and the parents there, and by there, I mean in your head, right? I mean the phone's ringing and the email's full and the texts are going. We want you to have a chance to dream. So we've invited these 5 people tonight to really inspire us, to bring us to the next level, to take us from this plane where we find ourselves doing our work day in and day out, and to elevate our work. The network weavers in the room, the Prisma team, and all of you here are really here to take that, what we see underground, the connections that you all want to make, bringing them up to the surface, bringing them out into the light, and connecting with one another. My friends, Rabbi Michael Cohen is here to tell you the story of some out-of-the-box learners. It's our job to think about all of the connections, all of the learners, all of the love, and all of the dreams that we have for our own students, our own institutions, and our own faculties in order to bring them to that next level. Ladies and gentlemen, Rabbi Michael Cohen. Atlanta, you may or may not know, is the most heavily forested city in the United States. I, as the sole member of the Prisma Atlanta office, get to enjoy the most heavily forested city in the United States on a regular basis. I was recently introduced to the book, The Hidden Life of Trees by Peter Wohlleben. Is anybody familiar with the book? Wow. All right, I'm going to recommend it, folks. The Hidden Life of Trees by Peter Wohlleben. He takes you on this unbelievable journey into the world of trees. He describes to you this amazingly inspiring network that happens completely out of your eyesight. We're up here going about our business, walking on the streets, walking on the lawns, and underneath us, in this gorgeous subterranean network, the trees communicate with one another. Now, I get that that's a little bit far-fetched. I get that it's a little bit magical. The trees communicate with one another. There's actually, I learned from this book, in 1 teaspoon of soil, enough fungi to stretch out for miles. And that fungi actually take messages from one tree underground to another. When one tree needs nutrients, this subterranean bacteria and messaging system, as he put it, the wood wide web, communicates one tree to another. It's all happening out of our eyesight. It's all happening underground. If that kind of phenomenal system of passing nutrients from the fir to the birch, because the fir knows over decades of time that the birch actually needs those sugars and those nutrients in order to grow and to thrive and to survive, it's going to send it over. If that's all happening in this sub-arboreal, subterranean, magical network, what could we do up here? What could we do if we opened up the expanses of our mind to figure out what's going on in the unknown? What could we do if we passed our nutrients one network member to another? It can be quiet, like the trees do it. It can be through network weavers or fungus, if you will. Please don't ever, ever tell my parents that I just compared network weavers to fungus. That's not going to play well. It can be any way you want to pass along that information from one person in this room to another, from one person in our field to another. Allow yourselves to take the nutrients that you have, to pass them forward to another person in the room so that they can heal, can grow, and can begin to stretch heavenward. Our next speaker, Rivka Shack, is going to unmask a little bit of the unknown for us tonight. So with a rousing, loud, warm welcome before and after, please welcome Rivka Shack. When our oldest, Racheli, was born, I, being a proud new mother, took her out in a stroller. I started to walk down the street, and Mrs. Shirley Brickman saw me coming. Now, Mrs. Shirley Brickman is a true Atlanta Jew. She looked inside that stroller, and she said, "Who you got there, Debra?" And I said, "Oh, Mrs. Brickman, this is Racheli. This is Rachel Aviyah. She's our firstborn." She looked inside again, and she took a full few seconds. She just looked that baby over and over. She said, "Well, Debra, Kanana, her, poo, poo, poo." May all her dreams come to fruition. Tonight, we've heard about the dreams of 4 of our colleagues. And closing out the evening, Dr. Erica Brown for the charge of our Dreams for the Future.